welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the BFNL Footy Show for another week, following last week's big interleague game, getting back into the swing of things in the Ballarat Football Netball League this weekend. I'm Sean Kelly, joining me as always, my co-host Liam Brady. Liam, big weekend for the BFL last weekend, unfortunately though, bit of a disappointing weekend in the end.
Yeah, disappointing, Sean. It's obviously seen the results on Saturday night. Really disappointing. The boys, fought their way back into the game after being down early on, and they can certainly walk away holding their heads really high. But unfortunately, the result didn't go our way. It's a really gallant performance against a really good league in the Western Region Football League. You were obviously there on the day,
yep.
So you know all about it. But I suppose full credit to Shaun O'Loughlin and his coaching staff for the preparation that they put in. They left no stone unturned. He had a really good assistant coaching group behind him. A lot of current BFL coaches in that group, so it's great to see them involved throughout the campaign. But I think the players certainly gave their best, but unfortunately just wasn't quite good enough at the end of the day. But a good effort in the end.
It was indeed 3 points short, of course, the BFL falling. You've seen all the results up on the screen at the moment. And really good game of footy, a really long game of footy. Started at 2:30, didn't finish until 5:30. It was something like 35-minute quarters or something like that for the first and the third, and a 37-minute quarter for the second quarter. So by the time the game finished, it was pretty dark. They had the lights on at Whitten Oval, but they're doing a bit of ground renovations at the moment, getting new lights on, and the lights they've got at the moment were pretty well candles, so didn't really help at all. And when Matty Notman's kicked a goal with about 90 seconds or 2 minutes or something like that left, and we're 3 points up, I thought we've got it here, but then unfortunately a bit of an error across half back, the ball goes forward, Western Region kicked the goal, and not long after that the siren sounds, and a bit disappointing, but some good signs all throughout the game. A couple of blokes I was really impressed with, obviously Nick Hind, the AFL Victoria Country medalist, who did a fantastic job, especially in the first and third quarter when there's about a 5-goal breeze kicking to the Geelong Road end of the ground, and we were kicking against the breeze in those quarters, and he did a great job across half back to really stem the flow, especially in the third quarter, when I thought the game really changed a bit as well. And in the first quarter, the Western Region had a lot of opportunity and didn't take that. But the third quarter, we actually went in at three-quarter time ahead. So then Mitch Banner kicked the first goal of the last quarter, and I thought, it was Nick Hind that kicked that first goal of the last quarter, and I thought, here we go, we're right to go here, and it's going to happen. But didn't happen, unfortunately. Also, Benny Sortino, really liked the look of him. Melton South ruckman, jumped up, gave us a great sight in the ruck all day, won most of the taps and gave a contest at every time as well. Derek Micallef, obviously a very good player, played some very good football again, always looked dangerous when the football was in his area, even though he kind of hyperextended his shoulder there at one stage, but came off, it was just a bit of a stinger, got going again. But look, there's some really good performances all around and some really good teamwork as well. Yeah,
look, as you said, some of those younger players performed really well. I heard Nick Hind's game was good, and I think I suppose the most pleasing thing is a lot of the players that actually got in the best and kick goals are players that actually hadn't played for the BFL before. Of new players, and hopefully that group can stick together and they can work under Shaun possibly for another year, and hopefully the result can be a little bit different this time next year. But as you said, look, Matthew Notman kicks a goal with 90 seconds to go, you're home more times than you're not.
Exactly.
So just probably a bit of bad luck and maybe a little error, as you said before, probably cost us side in the end.
Yep, I think just a kicking error there kind of let us down a little bit. Western Region got the ball down and went away. As the rankings stand now, of course, there was no rankings this year. You'd know a bit more about this than me, being the AFL Victoria man here on our panel. But with the Metro sides coming in, they didn't have rankings. It was more kind of best fit from the last year. Now the ranking system's in. The BFL's 9th in the state, so fourth in the country rankings before last year. You bring the Metro in, 9th's probably about right, I reckon. Looks like it's going to be a return match against the Bendigo Footy Netball League next year, who we know very, very well. Obviously, it seems they were the yo-yo for a lot of years, and we've yoed back down to them. I think it'll be the 4th time in 7 years or something like that these two sides will meet. Yeah,
we've played Bendigo the last couple of years, as you said, 3 of the last 6 years or something like that. So, look, Bendigo is always it's a really good, they're always a really good competitor. And I think the rivalry between Ballarat and Bendigo really does build up throughout the game.
It does.
As we know, the Ballarat side had a really good win last year against Bendigo. Hopefully next year the Tide can turn. The Tide can stay the same. We can record a victory as well. And as I said, there will be some teething issues with regards to what leagues are ranked in what position. As you said, the Metro teams are now included in the whole of the rankings, and I think people should not just look at where ranked 9th. They should also look at we're the 4th. Country league overall as well, because those Metro sides have obviously a few of those have jumped in on top of the BFL at the moment. So look, it'll work itself out over the next couple of years, and if the BFL can win next year, they'll obviously move up to the game above the year after. So some hard work ahead, and I'm sure that Shaun, if he does the job next year, we're looking forward to that.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting going forward to see what's happening. Also, the under-19 boys in action on the day, and a bit of a disappointing loss for them as well. They played all right after quarter time, but that first quarter, 10 goals to nothing, really just set the tone for the game from there on, and there wasn't much they could do to stop it either. The WRFL's under-19s boys were just pretty good on the day.
Yeah, look, when you're 50 odd points down at quarter time, it's always really tough to come back from there. But to their credit, they didn't throw the towel in completely.
Far from it.
They certainly really tried really hard in the second half of the game, which is good to see.
Yeah, good to see Tim Beecham, even though he didn't take his sunnies off all day, doing a pretty good job with coaching that side as well. Next talking point, we're only going to go for 2 talking points because the Interleague was an extended one. This weekend in the BFL, as we start to turn our attention to the happenings this weekend. Of course, it's Indigenous Round this week in the BFL, a fantastic celebration of the Indigenous sporting culture here in Ballarat, which is so strong and, of course, is throughout the western region of Victoria as well, and a celebration of what our Indigenous brothers and sisters have done before us, are doing right now, and will do again in the future. And as always, the BFL doing a fantastic job with promoting the Indigenous Round this week. The media release has already gone out this week. We've already seen the logos that are out for Indigenous Round. You'll see the record on the weekend. It'll have the Indigenous colours all through it. There'll be the 4-page spread, a fantastic feature article on Brett Goods this weekend.
Yep.
Obviously talking about his time growing up, not really knowing football when he first started growing up, getting into it at a late age, and then obviously working through the ranks, getting some knockbacks, and then moving into an AFL football, and now coming back and giving something to local footy at Sebastopol, and looking like he might be there for a couple of years yet. So a really good story to feature on Goodsy as well. And as always, some fantastic ceremonies before the game, smoking ceremonies, welcome to country, Indigenous colours painted in the middle of the ground, Liam. Some fantastic initiatives by the league and, of course, the home clubs this weekend.
Yeah, you've summed it up pretty well, Shaun. I think this has really grown over the last couple of years, and Indigenous people, whether it's playing-wise or support staff or coaching staff, whatever it might be, they play a really important role in football. And it's great to see so many Aboriginal people involved in football in Ballarat. You mentioned Brett Goods. He's been a great ambassador in this town since he's been here.
He has.
And he obviously had the journey of obviously starting North Ballarat, and then went down and played AFL footy. It's good to see him back helping out side in Sebastopol, and from all reports he's doing a really good job there as well. So there's plenty of other people doing it, plenty of other Aboriginal people doing really good work on and off the field as well in our league. So this weekend we obviously recognise those people, and we'll see that the centre circles on grounds are painted.
Yep.
The Aboriginal flag, and also Aboriginal flags flying above grounds, and also the footballs that we'll be using in senior games will be Aboriginal painted footballs as well.
Okay,
so
very good.
It's it's something to look forward to this weekend.
Yeah, it's going to be a fantastic initiative as we turn our attention to round 6 in the Ballarat Football Netball League, and some pretty handy games of footy going around this weekend as well, Braves, including quite interesting one down the road, Melton taking on Bacchus Marsh. 2 teams sitting a lot higher on the ladder than a lot of people would have thought at this stage of the year, and could be almost a make or break for one of these sides.
Yeah, exactly right, Shorty. Full credit to Melton. I think that they really showed that game before the bye that they are an outside chance, I believe, to play finals footy this year. They had a really good win against East Point, and I think I give themselves a big chance this weekend. Bacchus Marsh have been up and about for a fair while now. They had a downer a few weeks ago against East Point, but their form has been pretty good. Obviously, Damien Cupido has kicked 20 goals in 2 games for them, so he's been a great, acquisition up forward for them. But I think Melton can win this game. I'm tipping an upset here.
Yeah, very interesting game as well. Just think Bacchus Marsh got a couple more bullets in their arsenal, and if they can show that they can win games away from home, and if they can win this one, it'll really start to, I suppose, legitimise them as a contender this year as well, going along nicely. Darley taking on North Ballarat City at Darley Park. Boy, is this a big game, especially for Darley. They lose this, and we've spoken about it on this footy show a bit this year. They lose this, they're 1-5. They are struggling. They will be really, really struggling to get back from there. And North City only lost the 1 game just before the interleague break against the Lakers.
Yeah, look, spot on, Sean. I think the last couple of times Darley's played, we've said it's a big game. They obviously haven't got the chocolates. They need to win this game if they want to play finals footy. I think they can at home, but it's going to be very tough because North City are playing some good football. North City are coming off a defeat to Lake Wendouree. They'd be disappointed with the way they played, especially the way they kicked a goal. They had a few shots at goal early on and wasted opportunity. So I just think it's going to be a very tough task for Darley just to try and turn their form around against a really good side in North City. So I'm going to tip North City just in a pretty tight game.
Yeah, North City for me as well. Going along pretty nicely at the moment, but would not surprise me at all to see Darley get up and about for this one. East Point taking on Melton South at the Eastern Oval. Now, this is an example of a team that always seems to play well against a certain opposition to a certain ground. Melbourne South, even over the last couple of years, have really taken up to East Point at this ground. I think they even went close to upsetting them a couple of years ago. So East Point, coming off a loss last round, had some injuries, playing some kids, really need to get themselves up and going for this one, because they can't just turn up and say, oh, it's Melbourne South, they're struggling this year, they're a young side, we go through the motions and win, because that won't happen.
No, exactly. I think East Point will be too strong at home, though. I think they'll be very disappointed with their result last week against Melton. The week before, they were really good in that second half against Redan out here at the City Oval. I think at home, they'll win this game.
Yeah, starting favourites and should win for mine as well, East Point. Moving along, Sebastopol taking on Lake Wendouree at the Marty Bush Reserve. A good test to see exactly where Sebastopol's at this weekend, up against the competition's benchmark and the only undefeated side going around at the moment, Liam.
Yeah, look, a tough task for Sebastopol here. I think they've got a few players back to Sebastopol this week. They had a couple of injuries before the bye, but I think a few of those players are fit now, which is good. Look, as you said, Lake Wendouree are in really good form. They're probably the team to beat at the moment. They're undefeated. You just can't tip against them this weekend.
I reckon Sebastopol will go with them early, though. They've had the double break. They obviously had the bye before in the league as well. And speaking with Brett Goods during the week, he really enjoyed having those 2 weeks off to get his body right, especially after he had a bit of an interrupted pre-season. So he's ready to go, and I've got a feeling there'll be a few that'll be in a similar boat at Sebastopol. So early on, they could give the Lakers some troubles, but you'd think that Lake Wendouree, throughout 4 quarters of the game, will run on and be too strong in the end. And the last game for the round, Redan taking on Sunbury here at the City Oval. These two fantastic clubs that have built such a rivalry during their Eastern Footy League time. And it's not a rivalry built out of hatred or anything like that. It's a rivalry that's been built on respect, built on playing each other in some very, very big games of football and grand finals and premierships and everything like that. And two clubs that I suppose... It's also a very friendly rivalry as well. These two clubs do really respect each other. And we're going to see a pretty good game of footy here between a Redan side that I reckon's back. They defeated Darley quite convincingly last time around, and a Sunbury side that have taken no prisoners so far this year and are looking pretty good.
You're spot on, Shawnee. The rivalry between these two clubs has been built on the last probably 10 or 12 years of history against each other, and the mutual respect between these two clubs is really high as well. We speak to both clubs, and they certainly respect the other club a hell of a lot. So both teams are in a pretty good form at the moment, I reckon, because Redan have bounced back and they've won a couple of games in a row, and Sunbury are playing some pretty good footy. So I think it's going to be a very good clash. I'm tipping Redan just because the game's been played at the City Oval. So
that's my thinking as well. Solely because it's here at the City Oval is why I'm tipping Redan, but would not surprise me to see Sunbury salute in this one either. Ballarat with the bye this week, Braids. That's all the time we've got for this week. No dodge cam at the end of the show this week. Obviously a little bit of display by you when you thought the camera wasn't on last week, and just really need to learn that red light that you can see there means that things are on.
Stitch me up, mate. Thanks for that.
Not a problem at all. Happy to do so anytime. So just making sure we're keeping you honest, mate. So thanks for joining us this week.
Thanks, Shawnee. Good to be here again, mate. Looking forward to a big weekend of footy and netball action in the BFL.
Yeah, pleasure having you on board once again, mate. Pleasure having you join us as well on the BFL Footy Show for another week. We'll be back next Wednesday with everything from around the Ballarat Football Netball League. We'll see you then.
Bye.